Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. It's that time again, it's Green-Black Turbodepths on my channel time. So this is my sort of beloved signature deck at this point and I'm a big fan of it. We're playing the same build as last time. I think it's just the real sweet spot for the deck in the meta right now. So what is this deck? Well, we have Dark Depths and with Vampire Hexmage we can strip all the counters and make a 20/20. Alternatively, we can Thespian Stage to copy this, lose both of the lands, but we get a 20/20 in the process, because Thespian Stage becomes a copy that has no counters. So, that's the basic way we're trying to win. Well, it's the only way we can win, that's the whole point. Our deck is dedicated to doing this one thing. To facilitate this, we got Crop Rotations and Sylvan Scrying, so we've got 8 tutor effects. We've got Disruption in the form of Duress and Thoughtseize. We have Pithing Needle, which can stop lands like Caracas and Wasteland from bothering us, as well as just some other permanents that might be troublesome, like One Rings or whatever. So we can also stop opposing win conditions sometimes with the Pithing Needle, but it's mainly to stop them wastelanding and Caracasing us. We've got a bunch of fast mana in Spirit Guides and Lotus Petals. We have 3 Not of This World to protect our creature from removal. We just need 1 turn cycle and then we get them. We tend to make this in the end of our opponent's turn and then untap and kill them. And we've got some lands that can kind of do interesting things. We've got Bojuka Bog for removing the graveyards, because the decks that can race us quite often are graveyard decks, you know, like Reanimator and stuff, so this gives us a chance to fight back a little bit, and it's kind of free in our mana base at this point. A Ghost Quarter, because we're going to be putting Pithing Needle onto Wasteland and stuff, we can't really play Wasteland ourselves, that's what the Ghost Quarter's for. Sejiri Steppe, which can be another form of protection for our MARITOCRACY token. We've got a fetch land basic mana base with a couple of Bayous, and we have 1 Boseiju, which we can find with Sylvan Scrying to blow up either a problem land or something like an ensnaring bridge that's getting in our way, that sort of thing. And that's pretty much it for the main deck. Sideboard wise, we have 4 Null Rod effects split between Collector Ouphe and Null Rod. Sometimes one of these is better than the other, so splitting it is quite handy, especially against decks that have Cabal Therapy, where you want this effect, like Saga Storm. For more detail of this, you can have a look at my Patreon, but I'll plug that in a minute, don't you worry. We have 4 Abrupt Decays. This blows up Opposition Agent, Blood Moon, and Magus of the Moon. 4 Leyline in the Void. Like I said, graveyard decks can be a problem, because they can race us, so this will stop that. And we have these 3 Apostles' Blessing, which can be used to protect our creature from removal, or to make our creature unblockable, and this gets through artifact spammed creatures like Thopter tokens out of 8 casts, for example, and this doesn't get caught by Chalice of the Void because you pay it for 1, but it's a 2 mana spell. So that's it, that's the deck. We're a dedicated combo deck trying to do one thing. If you'd like some in-depth detail of this deck, I have a primer on my Patreon, which is linked below. It's got a lot of pages, it gets updated every month, in terms of how the meta is changing, what we need to do to adapt to it, etc, etc. So a newer version of that has just gone out last week, or no, beginning of this week in fact. So if you're interested in this deck, I highly recommend checking it out, not just because it's on my Patreon, but I've put a lot of work into it and a lot of people have said some good things about it, so hopefully it'll give you what you're looking for if you want to play this deck. Alright, let's go play some Legacy, like and subscribe, let's get into it. We are on the play for round 1. We have a bit of disruption, but we don't really have a way to combo off. We can find half of our combo. That's not really good enough. We can mulligan. This one is no good either. We can't find our combo with this. We can't really do anything with this hand. It's kind of Duress and Pithing Needle, and then we're just sort of whistling in the wind. So this is another mulligan for us. Our opponent's kept 7 over there. So we have the Dark Depths. We have the Hexmage. We can keep this. So 2 of these cards have got to go. So it's going to be the Yavimaya and the Duress here. So we can lead out on a Verdant Catacombs, go and get ourselves a basic Swamp, and then use this to Thoughtseize our opponent and see what we're up against. Exploration, Thespian Stage. Okay, the Thespian Stage is really important to note, because that's something that can copy our Dark Depths. So we can't play out our Dark Depths if they have Thespian Stage and 2 mana up. So we kind of need to keep our opponent at arm's length for a little bit and not give them too much of an indication of what we're doing. Yavimaya, that actually does help us potentially, and Exploration. Means if we draw a crop rotation, we can crop rotate into an Urborg and assemble our combo right now. There's the Thespian Stage. Boseiju is another thing we have to worry about. So I think we'll just play out this Verdant Catacombs, and hopefully our opponent will tap low off of this Thespian Stage, but we'll see. There's a Rising Canopy and a Savannah. Okay, the drawing card. We want them to find something here. Alright, so they're tapping out of Boseiju. Okay, this is perfect for us. So our opponent's got some number of cards in hand. We do get to have a look at our opponent's hand though, so we will crack this for a Bayou, play out the Lotus Petal, have a look at what our opponent's working with, just in case they've got something we want to hit here. None of these do anything. Okay, we'll play this out. We'll immediately make it now that they are tapped out of their Boseiju and their Thespian stage. Our opponent's got 1 draw step or 3 dredges to find what they're looking for here. So they can dredge into Karakas, Maze of Ith. Those are the 2 they want, or they can take a natural draw into crop rotation. Okay, exploration. Okay, so we have the game here. They've just milled these 3 cards with Life from the Loam. We don't have any action here. Oh, I guess they've got a Horizon Canopy they can crack here. If they find a crop rotation here, we lose. Or a Karakas. Alright, they didn't find either. So we successfully navigated. The information we got off the Thoughtseize allowed us to know when we could go off, and we got there. Okay, so sideboard-wise, stopping our opponent from Life from the Loaming is important. That's for sure. Not of this world is not unhelpful here. It definitely does some things. Pithing Needle going to be very useful in this matchup. Ghost Court and stuff. So it's kind of the hand disruption that is less useful here. Like, we can take crop rotations and things, but I think we're better off going this route and stopping their Life from the Loam, because that's their main engine that they're going to try and beat us, and then we can use Pithing Needles to get around the rest of it. There's an argument for things like Abrupt Decay here, in case they're bringing in things like Spheres, but I think our best plan is to try and go under that and then just win with the fact that we have lands and a decent chunk of mana. So keep it. We're keeping Not of This World because it counters a Karakas activation, which is their best way of dealing with us once we get the Marit Lage into play. Also stops a Maze of Ith activation. So this opening hand doesn't have access to a Dark Depths. And with this deck, you don't really keep a hand if you can't get a Dark Depths. You can look for the other halves of the combo, but if you don't have a way of achieving your Dark Depths, then you're not going to get anywhere. Okay, so this does have a way of making Dark Depths. And we do have a Vampire Hexmage, but our mana's a little bit shaky. But I think we will still keep this. And we have 2 Pithing Needles, so we can get rid of Wasteland, and we can get rid of Karakas quite easy and early on. So I think we're inclined to do that. We can also name the Thespian stage if that's the thing that's going to be important to us. Or we could name an Urza's Saga. A crop rotation. Interesting. Let's put a Pithing Needle down here. I think we can probably race this Urza's Saga. I think Wasteland is still the better name here. And then we pass. We will need to find another mana source, but our deck's got quite a decent chunk of mana sources in there. Doesn't really matter which land it is because we have a crop rotation now. A Lotus Petal. This is an interesting choice here, isn't it? What are they going to get off their Urza's Saga? Could be going for an expedition map to find something useful like Maze of Ith. So I think we're kind of incentivized to wait a little bit here. So I think what we do is we can play out these 2 Lotus Petals, and then we can play our Hexmage right now. If we play out our Hexmage, though, our opponent will just go and get a Pithing Needle with a Saga. So we have a choice of whether or not we decide to go here. They haven't shown us an Exploration or a Mox Diamond yet, so I don't think they're going to have enough mana to... they can activate this and get the map right. So they can Karakas us here. That's interesting, isn't it? We can deal with the Maze of Ith by Sylvan Scrying next turn, so I think we are on play Pithing Needle, and we're going to name Karakas here. Maze of Ith gives us a little bit of wiggle room because it doesn't just remove our creature. Right, they're cracking their Windswept Heath, so we don't Pithing Needle their Heath, which I might have been tempted to do. Let's see what we got here. A crop rotation. Okay, let's see what they get. An Ancient Tomb. Okay, so they're going for an activation of their Urza's Saga, which isn't really where this game's going to be won and lost, I don't think. Its name is Karakas, and then we'll pass. Alright, so we're getting another Construct. Probably going to get a Pithing Needle on Vampire Hexmage, I would imagine, because they have their own Thespian stages and they can use that as a way of sort of blocking us. Alright, they're just getting a Mox Diamond. That's alright for us. The Tabernacle's gone. There's the Thespian stage. Alright. Our opponent is telling us we need to go in the near future, I think, here. So we have a choice. We can deploy Vampire Hexmage and crop rotation. I think if we deploy the Hexmage, they just will keep their Thespian stage up. So I think we will... I think we do have to go for it here. We can definitely lose the game on this play, but I don't think it's getting any better for us. Let's crop rotate this away. Just going to get Dark Depths. We'll present this combo now when they can't use their Thespian stage. And they got a crop rotation for a Wasteland here, which won't work because we have Wasteland. They can have a Ghost Quarter. They could have an Ancient Tomb, and then they make their own 2020. But we can beat their 2020 potentially. Okay. They've gone and got Karakas, but we have that Needled. So I'm assuming we're about to lose our Pithing Needle. Yep, so this is going to be a Force of Vigor hardcast to blow these two up. Okay, a Boseiju. Right. That at least gives us a land to work with here, so we'll get a Bayou. Would have been a great time to have had Not of This World. So we're probably losing this one, I'm afraid. But that's what game 3 is for. Let's see if we can... Oh, one card away. Alright, so our opponent's got us on a 2-turn clock. We may as well play it out as a Wasteland. That doesn't do anything right now. But they might show us some more cards from their deck. Are they on the Sphere of Resistance plan? No, they just like from the Loaming. Sure. Yeah. So we take 6 this turn. We can't win from this position. I was just trying to see if our opponent would show us more cards. Crop Rotation doesn't do anything here. Might as well see if our opponent is on spheres or not. It feels like they're a sphere deck. Alright, they've just shown us this Surgical Extraction as well, which they didn't need to show us. That's interesting. Okay. Do you want to do anything differently here? How important is this Leyline in the Void? Kind of tempted to try it without the Leyliners of the Void here. Because if they get it up and running, the Life and Loam, that's kind of game over anyway. And we're just going to go quicker. Maybe we just want to go quicker and just say no to their stuff on the play. This can definitely backfire, but we're going to give it a whirl. We have the Bojuka Bog if we do need to exile their graveyard at some point, but we generally just want to try and win the game before that's a thing. So we're going to mulligan here. We do have access to it here. This is kind of ugly with the amount of mana we have is the problem. So we play this on turn 1. Turn 2, we can get turn 1 hands. They're just better than this. Nope. Alright, we might just be in the dirt here. So we're going to have to keep 4 here. So we'll keep these. And I don't think we can afford to keep 2 Thoughtseize. I don't think we want the Crop Rotation. We do need to keep the Spirit Guide. So we'll say done here. This is not where we want to be. Let's Thoughteize our opponent. Mox Diamond, Crucible of Worlds, Surgical Extraction. I don't care about a lot of these cards. I'm worried about Mox Diamond or Sylvan Scrying, but I don't really care about the Surgical because we're going to get one shot at it in this matchup, I think. So probably just the Library because that gives them more cards so they can find stuff with. Next turn we can Sylvan Scrying for a Dark Depths if we need to, but we might also be in a position where we want to hold until we know what land we're going for, because we might go and get the Dark Depths and immediately draw another Dark Depths. Whereas if we wait and we draw a Thespian stage, that changes things. Right, so there's the Windswept Teeth, the Mox Diamond, pitching as a Saga. That's over to us. Pithing Needle. Interesting. Do we need to play Pithing Needle right now? Now, our opponent is just on the things they have in play right now. So I think we should just play to beat one of the things that we can see in front of us. So let's just try and beat what we know about. So let's get rid of the Maze of Ith as a factor in this game. Right, there's an Ezra Saga. I'm cracking their Windswept Teeth. They're going to play this Crucible of Worlds, I'm pretty sure. Yep. Another Thoughtseize that we don't really care for. Again, I don't think we're supposed to fire off this Sylvan Scrying just yet. So our opponent is representing quite the quick win condition here, because they've got 2 artifacts in play already. So they're going to come out with 3/3s, and they've just got an endless supply of Sagas coming along because of their Crucible. Alright, now this won't cost us our Spirit Guide. I'm more inclined to do this now, and we're going to get Dark Depths, because the amount of time we have left in this game is on the narrow side, because this guy's going to be pretty big. So let's go and get ourselves a Dark Depths. We can't put it into play until we're going off because of potential Thespian stage from our opponents. The aggressive line with our Pithing Needle was to name Maze of Ith rather than Ezra Saga. But I think if our opponent gets to the point where they're just going to beat us down with Ezra Saga, we've probably lost already. And they're still going to find them things like Expedition Map here. Okay, maybe not. Okay, just going to bin off this Maze of Ith. Sure. Another Saga, or the same Saga because they're just replaying it from the graveyard off of the Crucible. Alright, we're going to take a big old clonk for 5 here. They missed 1 point of damage by not activating this first. Bojuka Bog. Not really the time for that, is it? Is it worth us firing off this Bojuka Bog now? So they're going to make another guy, and they're all going to be lethal. So we kind of have to play out a chump blocker here. They can just go and get a Shadow Spear, but is Shadow Spear going to be in their deck? That's an interesting question. So these are going to be 7s. Possibly, they could be 8s actually. So I don't think we can do anything here. I think we're just dead if they make all their constructs here. Yep, so we can block one of these and they have 2 lethal ones. Yeah, we're just done. Yeah, it was unfortunate. We mulliganed pretty hard in the last game. Our opponent didn't have anything. So if we'd have had, you know, an average hand, we probably would have smashed that game. but we had incredibly subpar draws until we kept something that we kind of had to keep. I don't think we could go to 3. 3 cards is hard. Like, you can just have Urborg, Hexmage, Depths. Maybe we could have mulliganed for that instead, but the fate of the world was against us right there, so it happens sometimes. Let's go to round 2. Our opening hand has a lot of disruption here. I think we'll keep this one. Like, we have access via the crop rotation. We can certainly force it through if needs be, because we've got double hand disruption. Hand is a touch slow, but the Pithing Needle, the Lotus Petal will help speed it up a touch. Lotus Petal, Polluted Delta. This could be a Storm deck. Alright, they're targeting us. Are we going to scoop to this? That is the question. Is it worth preserving the information? We're going to lose this crop rotation. I guess we should let them see in case they can't assemble the whole thing this turn. If they're a reanimated deck and they're just going to put something in the graveyard, we may as well see if we can survive that. Like, if they do manage to put a creature into play this turn as well, then I guess we just lose. But they might be like, okay, so we've got an Entomb here. They have exactly reanimate. Because if they don't, we have a chance here. Alright, that's game. Yeah, we're not beating that. We had the chance there if they were not on reanimate that we could untap and duress them. So I think we had to let them see our hand, which is unfortunate. I would like these Leylines of the Void, please. This is not a not of this world matchup, that's for sure. Pithing Needle is a lot less useful here. Ghost Quarter isn't something we need. Boseiju does have some text sometimes, but it's also green land, so it's not really one you want to strip off. The Sejiri Steppe is fine there, because that lets you sail through blockers, which can sometimes be relevant. The Abrupt Decay beats their Makes of the Moon, which is something that we do have to worry about. So we'll board in a couple of those. I think they're probably just going to be better than Pithing Needles here. Like, if they get their thing up and running, we're probably going to lose anyway. So I'd rather just not lose to the Makes of the Moon. So we'll go for this. Okay, it's a little slow, but we have our piece of disruption. So the question is, what are we playing out here? So we want to play out this Lotus Petal. And then we need a green source that turns into a Dark Depths. So I think we are just playing out this Verdant Catacombs. And on turn 3, make a 20/20. Hopefully this will slow our opponent down, but we will see. Lotus Petal, they're just going to go straight for Serenity here. Or they're going to go straight for Show and Tell. Faithless Looting. Alright, this is good for us. This is a bit of a desperation move to try and find something to deal with the Leyline. We've got Serenity here. A Doughty Voidwalker. Don't care about that. We will race this. Put in a Thespian stage and pass. We're 1 mana shy of doing it right now, but we can take a hit for 3 and then do it next turn. That's not going to be a problem. Another Doughty Voidwalker, that's fine. We still race that. Elvish Spirit Guide. If we'd have had that slightly earlier, then we'd have been better off. Right, so we'll make this in our opponent's end step. Our opponent is definitely going to attack here with both creatures. I don't think they want to hold up. It's unlikely they can do anything with the things we're going to play anyway, so they're right to attack rather than hold one up and hope they can snag something with a Void counter. Just going to get Bayou. Crop rotate away our Bayou. Going to get Dark Depths. Target the Dark Depths with our Thespian stage. Keep this one. Okay, so we got the scoop there. Excellent. So we don't really care about their aggro B plan. We beat that quite easily. It's very slow. We do care about their wombo combo super stuff and the show and tell potential. But I do think we still need to keep these Abrupt Decays in just in case our opponent does have the Makes of the Moon. We don't just want to get caught out. And I think Pithing Needle was just going to be too slow to really matter. Like, either they don't, if they get a creature into play, they're probably winning anyway. And the scariest creature they put into play is the Archon of Cruelty for us, because it makes us sacrifice guys when it comes into play or when it attacks, which becomes slightly troublesome. So this hand doesn't really interact with our opponent, so I don't think we can keep this one, so we're going to mulligan. This one definitely interacts with our opponent, but doesn't actually win us the game in any way, so we can mulligan this one. Right, this is the best hand of the bunch so far. We will keep this. We get rid of the Abrupt Decay. We do need another land here, is the problem. But I don't think we can turn this down. Start with the Leyline in play. This should hopefully slow our opponent down a couple of turns. Like, they can beat around a Leyline in the Void. This isn't game over for them at all. But it might buy us some number of turns, which is all we really need it to do. Oh, hello, that's quite nice, isn't it? So go for Bayou here. Play out the Petal. They didn't discard us. Is it more important to me to to keep this crop rotation or this Vampire Hexmage. Interesting. I think we keep the crop rotation here. We're just judging if our opponent might cast a discard spell on us. They did not. Okay, so we have multiple layers of stuff here. We'll cast this for black and black to get a Vampire Hexmage. We'll pass a turn. We'll do this on our opponent's end step to dodge. All right, feels like they're off it. So yeah, pretty convincing win. So the thing about Leyline is if they keep a hand that's slow enough to get around Leyline, that's normally fine for us. And if they don't, they just lose the Leyline. So it puts us in a very good spot. And we quite often have what we want to win the game with in our opening hand. So it doesn't matter if we draw a Leyline, because we're not trying to draw things off the top of our deck to win the game usually. Maybe a land is about kind of where we're at in this matchup anyway. Some of the matchups you want to draw some disruption and stuff like that, but the Leyline of the Void doesn't really mess up your draws too much. All right, we're 1-1. Let's go to round 3. We're on the play for round 3. We have one of the best hands we have. We have a turn 1 Thoughtseize, turn 2 Vampire Hexmage. So we will keep this. I love this deck. All right, opponent's mulliganed. That makes our Thoughtseize look a little bit tastier. We take a higher percentage of their starting cards the more they mulligan. So here's our Urborg. Here is our Thoughtseize. What are you working with, opponent? Okay. A little bit awkward, truth be told. Are they going to go for the Wasteland here? They are. That's an awkward one. It's kind of punished us a little bit there. Can go and get... It's kind of annoying. We want to get a Bayou here, but they are a Wasteland deck. We know they don't have a Wasteland in hand. Is it worth us taking the risk of just getting the Bayou here in case we draw a green spell that we want to play? I think so. I think that's worth the risk. Let's play this. We'll put it on Caracas. That should tell our opponent what we're up to. If they draw a Wasteland off the top, then sure. Right, there's a Saga. Again, we're trying to race the Thespian stage coming online for our opponent. What are they going to pitch this? The Caracas, I assume? They pitched the stage. That's a very bold choice, in my opinion, when I've just Pithing Needled it. Okay, so we can assemble our thing now. Our opponent has Boseiju up, though, which is awkward, to say the least. We have to try and navigate this Boseiju. Is there a way that we can do that here? I don't know if there is. They've just pitched their Thespian stage. If we have an additional mana for next turn, it becomes easier. So we could just run out the Ghost Quarter. But we're against the ticking clock of this Saga in that case, aren't we? How best to beat this Boseiju? If we play this out now, if we crop rotate, they will Boseiju in response. So we don't get anywhere. So I think we do have to play out this Ghost Quarter. It's tough. They have a Thespian stage as well. Okay, that explains why they binned off the other one. Jeez. Our opponent's hand was just all things that directly interact with what we're doing here. Which is a tough situation to be in. Right, so we'll play out this Urborg. We can Ghost Quarter away their Saga here. What does that actually do to help us? We could bait them in a little bit. We could just play out our Hexmage, leaving up green mana, and we can crop rotate into our thing if we need to. If they tap to make a construct token. We quite clearly have a green mana up. Now they might think they can just beat our... Oh, they're going for it. So now we crop rotate away our... Is it our Urborg or our Bayou? It's probably our Urborg here, isn't it? Go and get Dark Depths. Make this now, or they can't do anything about it. Like get a Pithing Needle, or Boseiju it, or whatever. The Caracas is gone from our Pithing Needle. And we have Maze of Ith beat with our onboard Ghost Quarter. So I guess they got 3 mana here, so they can't Boseiju and Expedition Map for Maze of Ith. They could naturally draw the Maze of Ith. Like, our opponent's hand should have been unbeatable. All they needed to do was not tap out to make a construct there, because they had so much interaction in this game. Boseiju, Caracas, Thespian stage, Wasteland, Thespian stage, and then a couple of Urza Sagas to boot. But we've found a line that's put our opponent in check. Can they deal with it? Right, so they're floating the mana here. It's going to be like a surprise Ether Spellbomb. They could have a, what's it called, Hex. Haywire Might, that's the one. The 1 mana guy that blows stuff up. That will be very good here, because they blow up our Pithing Needle, which also gains them 2 life to put them over 20. And then they can just play their Caracas and bounce on Marilage. I think we are pretty close to losing that game if they do that. We do still have the Dark Depths in hand, so we're only one piece away from going again. But our opponent has an awful lot of inevitability in their deck. They should know at this point if they're dead or not, because they're looking through their deck and they've already drawn their card for the turn. Right, so they've got a Mox Diamond here. So they're going to Boseiju our Pithing Needle, then Caracas us here. Yeah. That's unfortunate, but we get to dig for another land here. Yeah. We have the Ghost Quarter to answer this now. Exploration, sure. You're going to play your Saga? There it is. I think the best way of getting through that was to play right through. Sylvan Scrying. So there we go. And cast our Sylvan Scrying here. Again, we have so many layers of things to try and get through here. It's a real pain. We'll go and get the Thespian stage, and we'll deploy the Thespian stage. So we kind of need to be able to stop the Caracas and the Thespian stage. So we need a Pithing Needle, or we need a Not of This World. Boseiju also does it, but is a little bit more awkward. So our opponent is heavily favoured here. They found the line of just Boseijuing our Needle and Caracasing us, which is a pretty obvious one. And they were right not to throw away their Caracas earlier. Alright, this game has kind of collapsed a bit for us here. Although, what have they done here? They've given us the opportunity to Ghost Quarter away their Caracas and make our Dark Depths. Okay, we'll do this. This whole game has basically felt like we're trying to play to our opponent making a mistake, which is not a great way to play Magic the Gathering. But our opponent's opening hand was pretty good. Alright, let's assemble the 2020. And their Thespian stage can't make a 2020 of their own. We're getting crop rotated for a wasteland here. I think that's probably game, and I'm going to scoop it up. Let's have a look. Yeah, there's the wasteland. What are they going to target here? They're going to wait. They're going to do it properly. It's information to know if they know. They should know how the combo works because it's in their deck. So we keep this one, and now with this trigger on a stack, they target it. I don't think we're going to win in that time frame since we're dead next turn. Yeah, a bit awkward. That opening hand. I don't know if we could have played it a different way round. I feel we always had to try and play right through and hope they made an error there because of how stacked it was against us. Alright, so Pithing Needle's great here. Do we want ley lines on the play? Oh, sorry, on the draw. Probably more important than the Duresses, I would say, on the draw. Then we can swap it around. Or do we just want these Apostles' Blessings as another way of getting around Caracas? Maybe that's where I want to be here. And then we'll have one Duress. Just have more answers to the thing that actually can beat us. Do we need Sejiri Steppe? They could have their own Marit Lage that we need to get protection from to swing, so I think the answer is yes. I don't think we want things like Collector Ouphe to shut down their fast mana. Yeah, the lands matchup is a very tough one, because they're doing very similar things to what we're doing, but in a more control-y shell, so they have loads of layers of interaction. Like, we definitely have the tools to win, but they can really jam us up. Okay, we're cooking with something over here, aren't we? So we can keep this. We can stop the wasteland, which certainly helps. We've got Sylvan Scrying, so we can answer all their wastelands. Then we can answer their Caracas with getting a Ghost Quarter. So we have two kind of layers of protection here. We'll lead out on a swamp here, just in case something happens to our Pithing Needle. There's the wasteland named, and let's move on. So this way, by playing out the swamp first, it means if we draw a Lotus Petal, we can deploy a Hexmage if we want to next turn alongside our Dark Depths. This matchup kind of wants us to go quicker because our opponent has so much inevitability with their deck. And the annoying thing is that they have... So if we Pithing Needle one thing, they have other answers that do similar things. So they might have a Ghost Quarter in their deck, for example. Or if we Pithing Needle the Caracas, they might have the Maze of Ith. And they can sort of just tailor it to what we've named with the Needle. So, not a fan of this matchup. How much are they going to damage us? And they have their own Thespian stage too, which is another different problem. Okay, so we can just go for it now to dodge the Thespian stage. Or we can Sylvan Scrying, try and get an answer, but every time that goes by, our opponent gets deeper into their deck and is more likely to go off in combo. I think the sad truth of the matter is we are going to put our Vampire Hexmage into play and go for it and hope that it's good enough. This matchup is not great. So we do this now before they can copy it with their Thespian stage, but Caracas can beat us quite easily here. Now we can regroup and go again. We have some of the tools to do that. We've got a crop rotation. Okay, so they're going to go get Caracas and they're going to beat us here. This is what I mean. There's just so many lines of interaction our opponent has. Yep. Goodbye, Marit-Lage. We got rid of the Thespian stage, so we got rid of one of their layers of interaction at least. If they had cast a Life from the Lane, this game is probably unwinnable. Expedition map. Sure, this can find them another way of interfering with us. Okay, they have a Life from the Lane. I don't think we can actually win this game. I'm going to take another draw or two just to make sure, but this should be unwinnable from our opponent's position. Sorry, unlosable from our opponent's position. That one doesn't hurt, truth be told. Right, let's go and get ourselves another Dark Depths. If they've got a surgical as well here, then great. But we have to play around their Thespian stage, which if they hold it up the whole time will just beat us. But they might play around the Caracas being enough. But we kind of don't want to make our thing in our opponent in our turn because we don't want to give them two Caracas activations, one in ours and one in theirs. Okay. So we can go and find a black source for our Hexmage. Or we can go and find some more disruption. I think we have to go and find a black source for our Hexmage here. So we're going to get Urborg, which will also make our Dark Depths into a mana producing land. We don't have to worry about Wasteland at the moment because of our Pithing Needle. So this will give us more mana when we go off, which means Apostle's Blessing is good. Maybe we can draw additional Apostle's Blessings, who knows. But we do have to play around this Thespian stage. What is the next find they get? A Ghost Quarter. Can we beat Ghost Quarter every turn? That's going to be a tough one, I think, but we can beat a Ghost Quarter. Depends what they do with the rest of their mana. Right, so they're pitching something to Mox Diamond here, a Yavimaya, sure. There's the Ghost Quarter. We have a Ghost Quarter of our own. That is actually quite useful here. So we're kind of building up resources to combat our opponent's resources, but they have Life from the Lane going every turn. There's the Saga. So we need to stop them from being able to Ghost Quarter or Thespian stage our land. How are we going to do that? That is a good question. Like, if they start tapping with their Urza Saga, maybe? Like, they played pretty tight so far, I would say. So, they have enough mana to activate their Urza Saga. How many layers of protection will we need for this to work, is the question. A lot more than we have now. So, we need to be able to Ghost Quarter away and Boseiju, or a Pithing Needle. So, if we can draw a Pithing Needle, that will be a-okay with me. That will give us enough to at least attempt an answer. Second Thespian stage. So we need to name Thespian stage, then Ghost Quarter, then Ghost Quarter. Pithing Needle, a Thoughtseize. This isn't really going to do anything right now, so I think we'll just pass. Our opponent's going to start assembling win conditions now, because they've got enough mana to leave up everything they could possibly want. But Pithing Needle is a draw that might be able to give us the game here. We do need to get rid of the Caracas and the Ghost Quarter, but we got the Caracas covered with Apostle's Blessing. So as long as it's only one turn, we have to worry about that. That's okay. So Pithing Needle is the draw we require. What are they going to name with this? If they name Vampire Hexmage, that gets more difficult. If they're getting a Pithing Needle here. Yeah, there it is. They're going to name Vampire Hexmage because they have Thespian stage. They can use them as blocks for us. Whereas, yep, so there's the Vampire Hexmage name. Okay, so we need... See, this is what I mean about every turn is just another layer of stuff for us to get through, right? We have Boseiju, which can blow up the Pithing Needle. And we need a Pithing Needle of our own. Before they find the Boseiju in their deck. Or kill us. Which isn't a lot of time. Restoration, we don't care about that. A Blast Zone. Alright, so we take 5 this turn and then 10 next turn. So we have 2 draw steps in theory. And they do have a Blast Zone that can pop the Pithing Needle whenever they need. What does our crop rotation do here? We can't get around these Thespian stages. That's the problem. I think we are done here. Might as well take one more draw step. But we needed a Pithing Needle a couple of turns ago. And we just didn't get there. So lands is in a really good spot in the meta at the moment, I would say. Which, for similar reasons to why we're actually in a good spot with Greenback Turbodepths. Because it's kind of hard for us to interact. And we're both decks that can ignore Orcish Bowmasters. So, yeah, but we are certainly unfavoured in the old lands matchup here. What can we even draw here? I don't think we have anything, right? Another crop rotation. Does that do anything? There's no Yavimaya in play. How many layers of Thespian stage do we have? We have 1, 2... So if we ignore the Ghost Quarter, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, there's no way we're getting out of this lock. Yeah, it's unfortunate. We had to go for it early on and hope they didn't have it, because this is what happens if you don't go early on. They just amount so many layers. No deck has more ways of dealing with Marit-Lage than lands, in my opinion. Like, they have the Ghost Quarters, they have the Boseijus, they got the Caracas, the Wasteland, they got their own Pithing Needles to shut us down, they can then shoot her up. And they can blow up our Pithing Needles with a blast in if they want to. It's just so many layers of stuff to get through. Now, sometimes you just go underneath that. Maybe their hand's a little bit soft and you can just get them with a turn 1 or 2. But this was not this match. Let's go to match 4. Alright, their opening hand for round 4 does not really go anywhere, so we're going to mulligan this one. Doesn't have access to the card we need to actually win the game. It's not like we can just try and play a game without it. Our deck literally doesn't function if we don't have Dark Depths. So let's mulligan. Okay. This gets us somewhere. We'll keep this. So we're going to keep Depths. We're going to keep a green source. We're going to keep Hexmage. We're going to keep a black source. Which means 2 of these cards have got to go. So I think it's probably these 2, and we name Wasteland on our first turn so we don't get jammed up down the line. Okay. We're going to get Chaliced for 1. That does shut off a reasonable portion of our deck. It doesn't stop us from winning the game, but it is awkward. Oh, what a draw. Let's have an Urborg here. Is there any point in playing this Lotus Petal out? Yes, because we might want to Boseiju something. Next turn we have Hexmage. Let's see what flavour of Chalice deck our opponent is. Cavern of Souls, naming human. This is feeling like initiative. Archon. Okay. So our Dark Depths is going to come in tapped, which means we want to save our Lotus Petal here. Does this Elvish Spirit Guide do anything? Yes, sometimes. Because we can channel Boseiju for 1 if we have MARITOCRACY in play. Let's pass the turn. Now our opponent has access to things like Solitude in their deck. We might get an indication of what they have by whether or not they attack here. Right, we're going to do the one thing that we can do here. Another Dark Depths. How useful is that right now? We go to attacks. They can't have Source of Plowshares because they're their own thing. Are we playing out this Dark Depths right now? Yes, I think so. They could have the Touch of the Spirit Realm thing. If they have a white source. Alright, they had nothing. We just got them. Alright, sometimes you do get there. So, initiative. They have some access to Blood Moon effects. So we need these Abrupt Decays. These Pithing Needles don't really do a great deal, so we can get rid of those. Caracas is something that could be in their deck. So Pithing Needle is kind of awkward, but they tend to only be able to fit 1 in. Apostle's Blessing is another card that I'm interested in this matchup, but I'm just going to work out if I can realistically play it. How useful is Duress? Not very. I think we'll trim some Duresses for Apostle's Blessings and just protect our creature as best we can. Duress and Pithing Needle kind of much of a muchness in terms of what they actually achieve here. They're both kind of bad on the draw, to be honest. I think I'd rather have access to a Pithing Needle in my deck. Oh, we can take out the Bojuka Bog, actually. Oops. Right, too late. This one is a bit slow. This isn't really the matchup for slow. But if they're going hard into Magus of the Moon as their option of beating us, then this does get better for us, weirdly. Because we can answer it and then have a Dark Depths that just comes in off of their own combo. I don't think we can keep this one, though. Well, it does have access to beating Blood Moon is the thing. But I think we mulligan. Not this one. Close, but not quite. Alright, so if we keep these, we can get rid of Thoughtseize, Blessing, and Yavimaya here. We can represent a turn 2 2020. Because we turn this into a Urborg and then make our guy. Another crop rotation is interesting. Means if we can find something like an Elvish Spirit Guide, we might be able to do our combo with Sejiri Steppe backup, which would be excellent. Archon of Emeria. Does that change what I'm doing right now? That does mean that our Dark Depths is going to come in tapped here. So we can get a forest and turn it into an Urborg right now. But does it matter if we do that, is the question. If we just get a Bayou. We should have done this in response. Because we can't play 2 spells, we can't play this and that at the same time. Okay, so we do the forest, which is actually quite handy here. So I'm going to play out the forest instead. And then we can crop rotate in our opponent's turn for an Urborg. And then untap Vampire Hexmage with Sejiri Steppe backup. What is this? Ravenloft Adventurer. Initiative. Does some other stuff, sure. So we're on the black-white initiative. So Blood Moon a lot less likely. It's good to know. Right, we still don't have Sejiri Steppe back up, actually, do we? Time is running out for us. So our one spell for the turn is this. We will go and get Urborg. An Abrupt Decay. We play out Dark Depths, and then we play out the Hexmage. We don't have a lot of time in this game, so we want our opponent to cast a spell. That would be real useful to us. Okay, they did a Scry, which tells me that they don't have an answer necessarily in hand. So they might be getting Chump Block, Archon of Emeria duty, but we'll see. We can always crop rotate for Sejiri Steppe to guarantee the damage, or we can Abrupt Decay their Archon of Emeria. We have options. We can't do, well, I guess we can do both if we find a green source. Alright, so it looks like they're playing some other thing. The One Ring. Okay, that's pretty irritating, truth be told. Okay, we don't need to activate that yet. Thespian Stage. Okay, I don't hate that one. Comes in untapped. Comes in tapped, but that's fine. Okay, so they fogged for a turn with the One Ring, but now we can make our 20/20 and Abrupt Decay their guy or Sejiri Steppe, if that's the thing we need to do. Right, they're drawing some more cards, which is a powerful thing to do. Orcish Bowmasters. Interesting. Okay. This is actually great for us because they've cast a spell here. So, sacrifice here. They don't get the guy because we remove the target as well. I believe that's how that works. So they've got 6 cards in hand. If we Abrupt Decay away their Archon of Emeria, they have the ability to source the Plowshare as our guy. So I think we just have to get our crop rotation going. I'd love to draw a green source. Oh, this is a massive error from our opponent here. So add some mana of this. We will crop rotate, sacrificing this. Give our creature pro white. They can't cast any more spells. Game over. Yeah, what they're supposed to do is chump block with the Archon of Emeria. Or see if we do any funny business. So our opponent, I don't necessarily know if they're going to win that game or not, but they can certainly run us a lot closer, I think. Because what you're supposed to do is let us attack and just chump block. And then force action in a way that doesn't mean that we can just swing for the win. Alright, league's going pretty quickly. We've got 1 round to go. Let's see if we can get the positive record. On the play for the final round. We've got some action here, but it's quite slow. And our deck needs to go fast in a lot of matchups, especially game 1. So what does this do? We can... Yeah, this can get us there pretty quickly. I think we can keep this. Get rid of one of these needles. We've got so much fast mana here. This can really speed up our clock. You know, Pithing Needle on Wasteland. We could Sylvan Scrying right now, but I don't think there's any point of that. I think the plan is Sylvan Scrying next turn. Ancient Tomb, okay. They can chalice us, that's fine. Lotus Petal, okay. I'm just going to get Show and Telled. What is this going to be? Anointed Peacekeeper, maybe? Sylvan Spirit Guide as well. Okay, if we're getting a 4-drop on turn 1, so this could be Caves of Chaos Adventurer. So this can race what we're doing, I think, which is a bit of an issue for us. Okay, so we draw and do some maths here. Thoughtseize. Am I interested in Thoughtseize right now? I don't think so. So we can spend these to Sylvan Scrying, but that doesn't get us anywhere. But if we play this out and crack this for a Bayou, then we can cast Sylvan Scrying. Go and get Dark Depths. So, we need one of these in order to activate our Dark Depths. That means we have a free Thoughtseize available if we want it right now. Is that good enough? Is it worth the 2 life to Thoughtseize now is what I'm trying to work out. I think we should. Because our opponent can deploy something that speeds up the clock. Okay, so they did not speed up the clock. Alright, so we're on the red-white version of the deck we played last round. Yeah. So what are they going to exile here? Touch the Spirit Realm. They can only play that to the end of this turn, right? This turn, yeah. So that's good news. There's Plains. So we do have to block this turn. Because otherwise the 5 from the trap and the 7 from this will kill us. Just a casual turn 3 goldfish there. With 1 creature. What a world. So we need our opponent to not have found anything and not find anything off of this guy. We're priced into blocking regardless, so we'll find something irrelevant. Chrome Box, that counts. Let's target this. Make ourselves a 20/20. I can't Solitude this. Alright, we just got the win there. Excellent. So, this one is probably going to have Blood Moons in. So I would like these Abrupt Decays in. I think Pithing Needles come out here. I'll take another Blessing. potentially, if I can... Collector Ouphe is kind of interesting here. We don't need Bojuka Bog in this matchup, so we can trim that one and get a blessing in. How useful is Duress? Not great on the draw. I think I'd rather have a couple more blessings. Would we rather have Collector Ouphe over these Duresses? Collector Ouphe can block for a turn, sometimes, and they can shut off a big bunch of their mana. Is that worth it? I don't think so. I think we just try and combo off because our combo is... It's quicker most of the time. Right, we managed to race the turn 1 Caves of Chaos Adventure, which is the quickest threat they can deploy. But if they'd have had follow-up, then it would have been different if they'd have had like anything to play on turn 2. Now, we did snipe that play out from underneath our opponent, but it's something to be wary of. So this is turn 1 Sylvan Scrying for Dark Depths, but we can't Sylvan Scrying on 2. No, I think we can go better than this. This hand is very good against Blood Moon. It just beats Blood Moon on its own. If we draw a second land, this hand is pretty good as well. I guess we keep this and strip of crop rotation. This is definitely a loose keep from me. Don't. I just want to see how it plays out. There's a Chrome Mox from our opponent. We want our opponent to play a Blood Moon this turn. Pitch all your cards to play Blood Moon. Okay, looks like they're playing a 4-drop instead. Where's the Blood Moon of yesteryear? Okay, so this is going to be pretty bad news for us. Turn 1, Caves of Chaos Adventure. Yet again. Vampire Hexmage. So this puts us pretty close to where we need to be honest. So we can make a 2020 next turn, if that's the thing we want to do. So play out our Lotus Petal here. Things like Archon are definitely something we have to worry about here. So what we can do is we can Sylvan Scrying in our turn, because it's fast mana, it doesn't really matter. Get an Urborg, play Hexmage, make a 2020. Now that doesn't give us a lot of wiggle room if our opponent's got some stuff going on. But if we can find another piece of fast mana, that'd be extra helpful. Or if we naturally find the Urborg. Or any land lets us crop rotate, but then we won't have the crop rotate hanging back, will we? Alright, so let's see how bad this attack is for us. What are they going to find on top of their library? Ancient Tomb. Okay, I don't mind that one. We have Abrupt Decay ready to go. Another Hexmage. So if we exile this, do this for Sylvan Scrying. Like, our hand only plays one way, so we're going to do that. Our opponent doesn't play Wastelands, but it might play Caracas. So we're incentivized to sit and wait here. So we do have to make the 2020 block here. Otherwise, we're going to die to this. Well, not necessarily. We'll be on 1 life. We'll see what this reveals, and then we can try and make a decision that way. Looks like they're going to try and force our hand by playing something pre-combat. No? 4th in long. I think, how important is it to play around sorcery speed removal here? What direct damage do I think our opponent has access to? Sure. Like, if they have instant speed interaction, we'll lose either way. This way we dodge sorcery speed interaction and go to 1. Like, we might be getting 20 in the very near future. We don't really have a choice with this play. Our opponent has put us to the test. Oh my god, what draw. Our opponent definitely should have killed us in the end step when we had no mana up. You got Solitude to go with that? No, they don't. Okay, so our opponent could have won that game if they had plowed earlier. Well, we might have been able to sort of piece it together again, but we finished with a 3-2. Both of our losses were to lands, which is not a matchup I like. You either win in the first, like, 2 or so turns, or you do, or you lose, right? That's it. That's how the matchup goes. And we did not get there. All right, let's have a chat about the deck. So I think the deck performed pretty well. We navigated some matchups. We kind of got a lot of the same matchups. We got 2 lands matchups, 2 initiative matchups. So slightly awkward in terms of like deeper testing, but we did confirm, I guess, that the lands matchup is horrible. In terms of what you can do to combat the lands matchup, yeah, that is a tough one. Because the stuff that's good against lands is good against us. So we can't really run a lot of that stuff. Like, we've got Pithing Needles, and we can have a Knot of This World or something to protect our guy. So we have several layers of protection that we can amass. But the problem is our opponent has the same amount of things that we have and more, because they have Wastelands as well as their own Pithing Needles. They also have the Caracas, which is a thing we don't have, but they still have the Ghost Quarter, etc., etc., and the Boseiju. It just kind of mounts up in a way that's really frustrating for us to try and navigate. And, you know, they have their own Thespian stage we have to worry about too. I showed you in one of the rounds how you can navigate that matchup and sort of thread the needle and look for your openings, but trying to win 2 out of 3 games against lands is tough. You really, really have to win the first game. But you don't know you're playing against lands until it's too late, so you might keep a hand that, you know, is like a turn 3 or 4, and that might be too slow. You need to really put the pedal to the metal, as they say. But yeah, so this is the Turbodepths decks. I absolutely adore this deck, as you've probably guessed if you watch my channel. And if you're new to my channel, hello. Check out my videos going back. There's loads of content of Green-Black Turbodepths on my channel. It's a deck that I play regularly because it's sort of like my signature deck, and I like to get some testing done before I do a big tournament in September, so I'm just jamming it a fair bunch. Sideboard-wise today, we boarded in the Apostle's Blessings. They could have been useful. Like in that last game, if we'd have drawn Apostle's Blessing instead of the Not of This World, we would have lost because we only had 1 life to spare. So tight margins, but we got there. Some might say maybe we should have a 4th Not of This World and only 2 Apostle's Blessing. Maybe that is where we need to be. It just gives you a little bit more mana to work around. But I do like the idea of being able to go through blockers. But there's so few blockers that you have to worry about now. Because, like in the Reanimator matchup and stuff, they can have blockers. But you're not broading in Apostle's Blessing in that matchup anyway. But 8-cast has kind of fallen off the map a bit. It was like everywhere for ages. And I haven't played against it for maybe 2 weeks now or something like that. Which is like unheard of, really. So I'm curious how... Like, I know why that's the case, right? Because Orcish Bowmasters, they put Orcish Bowmasters in play. You can't do all the things that 8-cast wants to do, cracking all its baubles, playing all its draw spells. So, Orcish Bowmasters kind of helping us out in the format. So maybe I'll try another Not of This World over an Apostle's Blessing next time around. So we have a little bit less to do for going through blockers. But again, we still have things like Abrupt Decay that we can board in for blockers. Yeah, I think that's about it talking about the deck. I love this deck. If you want to know more about this deck, then please check out my Patreon. It's in the description below. I go into extremely detailed ways of how to play this deck, why to play this deck, the cards that we're not playing and why we are playing the cards we're playing, and then a detailed assessment of the meta, which I update every month now. So it's just talking about where the meta is at, what our deck's doing, how the meta is shifting, and if we need to change any play patterns or what to look out for moving forwards. And then there's also detailed sideboard and matchup guides for loads of matchups as well. So yeah, if you're interested in this deck, please check that out. And most importantly, just keep watching my content. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that jazz. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.